Thanks for joining us for City Council Comments. I'm Steve Ericson along with Mayor Jerry Koch. Today we're talking about both the September 3rd and the September 17th City Council meetings. Thanks for being here today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Almost ringing in fall here, but sure feeling a lot more like summer in the last few days.
We had some moments there where it was feeling like fall, and now it's really summery.
Yeah.
Air conditioning's on. And
Yeah. Haven't had to do that for a few weeks. We had the whole run of the state fair basically with not even an 80-degree temp.
My gosh. You knew that was going to be a record year when it was so beautiful every day.
Right.
Yeah.
So kind of wonder now what our winter might hold here.
I don't know. 80s this week is a little tough after all those 70s we had for so long.
Right. Well, we'll find out soon enough what this winter holds. We had our two meetings here this month on the normal Tuesday night, so we'll dig into things here and start off by talking about the Tuesday, September 17th City Council meetings. One of the first items there was to proclaim October Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
Yeah. So it's really in support of Alexandra House. Alexandra House does a terrific job for Anoka County, for the area, and we read a proclamation designating October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. I always have to be careful how you say that, get all the words in there.
Yep.
And Alexandra House, Tina Bronson was here and let us know that they served 2,800 residents from Anoka County last year, 372 of which were from Coon Rapids. Significant number, and so we want to really show them our support, and we read a proclamation for October.
All right, and they have their annual fundraiser coming up here the last Saturday of September, I believe.
Yeah, so this used to be the Hope. It's the Hope Fest, and they used to be at Anoka County Bunker Hills Park, and now it's over at the YMCA in Lino Lakes, and it's a walk and it's events and there's all these things going on around it, and it's a very good fundraiser for them. And they're going to have the silent witnesses up over there, which is a very, very moving demonstration or display of people that have lost their lives in domestic violence over the years, and it's a silent witness, and there's a story in each one, and it's very powerful when you read about it, because a lot of times you'll go, oh, I remember that. I remember reading about that. Yeah. So it's very profound.
Yeah, and that exhibit's been around a while now. It used to be at Northtown Mall, and I remember covering it when they kind of started it.
Yep.
So that's still around and still raising awareness, and just like their event does each year. Yep. And again, that's Saturday, September 28th it would be.
Yep. YMCA in Lino Lakes. Yeah, and all the information's on their website. And it's Alexandra House Hope Fest.
All right. Moving along, we had another proclamation. This was for the Girl Scouts River Valley Spirit Week, and they also kind of started off our meeting.
Yeah, so it's nice. Anytime we have scouts there that are in uniform, we like to ask them if they would like to come up and lead the pledge. And it's always fun to have them kick us off that way. But so the Girl Scouts came up, led the pledge, and then we read the proclamation, and they came up and introduced themselves, and it was very nice. And it was recognizing the Girl Scouting's been around since 1912, very storied history, of course. And the local, 28,000 local Girl Scout members and 9,000 volunteers will be celebrating 107 years of this American tradition and its contributions to the community. So we proclaimed September 16th through 22nd as Girl Scouts River Valley Spirit Week throughout the city.
All right. Of course, the Scouts do a lot of good in our community and help with a lot of things. Of course, they're probably best known for those cookies they sell once a year.
Yep. Well, and they talked about that. They talked about one of the girls there that has gone on these incredible trips through cookie sales. Yeah. So it's great. It builds that entrepreneurial spirit, and and the cookies are good.
Yeah, they are. That is very true. Good thing they're only sold once a year, right? All right, moving along, under our consent agenda, we had an item there we wanted to talk about. This was adopting a resolution accepting a grant from Anoka County. This is for some new recycling lids in the Civic Center.
Yeah, and I love how they describe it. Certain parts of certain population have trouble identifying what to throw in the bins because of, the labels are a little bit ambiguous or something. And I went, that's me. Because I stand there and I go, oh man, you got all these choices, and you're going, I don't know what to do with this or that. So they've not just for me, but for the population.
Yeah.
They got new lids for the recycling so they can better separate the recyclables and the organics and the trash.
Yeah.
And so they're really trying to set the example for how to really properly recycle. And Anoka County granted us up to $10,000 for this project, and we spent $557 buying new lids.
Can we get anything else?
I don't know. I thought that was pretty fiscally conservative.
Yeah, it is. Well, the lid's obviously important, help people sort and all that. I think there's some confusion too amongst folks that you usually can recycle more materials at the recycling center than you can curbside, and I think there's some confusion there as well.
There really is, and we've spent a lot of time discussing ways to regulate recycling at our multifamily housing, our apartment buildings and things. And really, we have thousands and thousands of single family and townhome people that don't know how to recycle either. Mm-hmm. You know, they want to recycle, but as they call it, it's called wish cycling. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, this is plastic, I'll bet I can recycle this. Yeah. And they end up trashing out their recycling bin. Yeah. I'm happy we're talking about this because CTN did a great update, and it's on the CTN YouTube channel or the CTN website on what goes into your curb recycling bin. Yeah. Because it isn't everything that people think. Right. You know, or they talk about the people do such a great job washing in all of the right plastics, but then they'll put them inside of a plastic bag. Mm-hmm. Well, then they just grab the whole plastic bag and throw it away because they can't use it anymore. Right. There's just so many things that folks think should be able to be recycled. And a lot of it can if they bring it to our recycling center on 111th at the Public Works Garage, but they can't, it isn't eligible for the simple sorting in the bin at the curb. Yeah,
even things like pop cartons pop cases can't be thrown into your recycling. I saw something today from somewhere online, pizza boxes. Greasy pizza boxes, those can't go in your recycling bin. And I know some haulers are starting to charge folks if they're finding like plastic bags in your recycling bin.
Well, right, because they literally have to stop the truck and take them out, you know, or they'll find plastic pots, you know, they'll set those out, and it's really a matter of trying to educate folks. Yeah. Folks really want to do the right thing, but they don't know what it is. Plus, it's been a moving target because as the markets have changed for the recycling products, they're no longer accepting them in the bins, so the rules have changed a little bit. Yeah. So it's, like I say, the CTN production did a great job, and I would really encourage folks to take just the 5 minutes it takes to watch it and see what it is, or at least go to the websites of your haulers. I'm sure they have lists there as well.
Yeah, and then also the recycling center website will tell you what they accept there as well and what you can bring into the recycling center.
Yep, and that's a busy place.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's open almost every day, different hours, and it works out great.
All right. Moving forward, I was going to move forward with this meeting, but that's all we had for that meeting.
That was really about it, huh?
We had a fairly short meeting. I think it was all of 23 or 25 minutes maybe?
Maybe.
So we'll move back now to our first meeting of the month, was on September 3rd. First off of there, we had a couple special guests in from our state legislature.
Yeah, so we had Representative Melissa Hortman, who of course is the Speaker of the House down there, Representative Zach Stevenson, Senator John Hoffman, and then Representative Aaron Cagle came in and just talked about the legislative session, talked about what they're trying to get done, and specifically what they're trying to get done for Coon Rapids. So they spent a few minutes talking about that, and then it was kind of fun because I had just gotten a notice from the League of Minnesota Cities that Representative Cagle was being acknowledged as a legislator of distinction, I believe it was. So I read the proclamation from the League of Minnesota Cities, and I think that was a little bit of a surprise for her that was there, but it was fun.
Yeah, I always get, I'm like, is it already time for the session? And I think they usually come in kind of in the fall to give us a preview, kind of a look back at what happened at the previous session, and then kind of a look ahead to this upcoming session, which I believe is a bonding year, correct?
Yes, it is. Yeah. It's really hard to get time with them during the session, like here. Yeah. You know, we see them often by visiting down there, but they stay pretty busy during the session.
Yeah, and actually just last week or the week within the last 2 weeks, they were just here for did a bonding tour across the state, looking at different projects, and Coon Rapids has one that they're going for here as well.
So yes, so we're
And the
looking
college.
at in the college, yeah. So they did a bus drive-by on the East River Road 610 connection, and that has been approved by the MnDOT now, the IRC, the Interchange Review Committee, I think it is. So MnDOT says, yep, this is a good connection, this makes sense. So the bonding tour made sense because we're trying to get the money to get the engineering, the money for engineering it.
Right.
You know, and then after we get that, then we'll have to go back and try and get the funding for actually constructing it.
Okay. And then also the pedestrian bridge that they're trying to get over Coon Rapids Boulevard and Riverwalk. They're trying to get some bonding money for that as well.
Yeah. Right. The pedestrian from near the clay hole, right across Coon Rapids Boulevard down there. It would be kind of a gateway to the city there from the south.
Yep. And then Anoka Ramsey's also trying to get some money for their nursing program, so they made a few stops here while they were in Coon Rapids.
Yep. Yeah. The college got to feed them lunch and spend a little time with them. So.
Well, that was nice. So they might have a better shot.
Yeah.
Who knows? But that'll all be sorted out, obviously, in the next session, how much there is available for bonding,
Right.
and then how that's split up amongst all the projects.
Right.
Because there's usually a lot more projects than funding.
There's always more projects than funding, and it's always a matter of trying to find those priorities and getting your voice heard. And
Yep. All right. Moving on, Council considered resolutions ordering preparation of a feasibility report and plans for street reconstruction. 2 projects here. Hard to believe we're already talking about street reconstruction for next year.
Yeah. So one is our street reconstruction of our residential streets, and the other one is our Minnesota State Aid roads. So it's 2 different projects. I think we're being a little less aggressive next year than we were this year as far as miles. And I'm sorry, I don't have that here.
It's okay. I was just trying to get to it too here.
Yeah, it seems like years ago it would be, and we're doing this street from this end to this end, and there would be like 2 streets you talked about.
Yeah.
And now for the last several years, every one of these projects has like 10 or 12 or 15 different streets that it's touching on. So it impacts all these different places.
I'm getting 2.6 miles and 2.1 miles. Does that sound right?
Yep.
4.7?
Yeah, which is considerably less. We've been running about 10 miles a year.
So this is all of street reconstruction for 2020?
I believe so.
At this point? Okay.
At this point, yep.
All right.
Yeah.
And again, these are the homeowners that are impacted will receive notice about assessment hearings and all that next year, I imagine.
Yep, they'll receive notices about the assessment hearing, and even as important as that is they'll receive notices for the open houses. Okay. And the open houses are really important because it's your time to come in there. They'll have the big map of the project, and if you've got an irrigation system you want to tell them about, or a retaining wall you'd like to maintain, or if you noticed that the water accumulates in the street in front of your house or on your street. These are all things the engineers want to know about, and they make notes right on the big plans right there. Plus, it gives you a lot of information of how the project is going to roll out.
Okay. So it looks like the municipal state aid ones are involving Riverdale Drive, Northdale Boulevard, Crooked Lake Boulevard, and 113th Avenue.
Okay.
Which I believe 113th Avenue, that's the one in front of the fire station 3, right? Which was a pretty bad.
Yeah, from Coon Rapids Boulevard there by Cheapskate over to Crooked Lake Boulevard by the fire station.
So that's slated to be redone in 2020.
Yep, and that section of Riverdale Drive is up by Riverdale Crossing where the Walmart and the Cub are up there.
Yeah.
And that road is in terrible shape. Yeah. And we delayed the construction a year because we were trying to work with them to do a roundabout there because that's what the safety engineers said is the best type of a intersection there. But we couldn't get the developer or the owner of the project to work with us on it. He wanted it. He says, yes, but our leases are really complicated, so you're going to have to use eminent domain. It's like, yeah, we're not going to do that because that's going to add hundreds of thousands of dollars to this project that we were already wondering if we actually wanted to pay the extra for. So we're just going to redo it, make some little lane adjustments, make it as safe as we can, but it's not going to be the large dynamic roundabout we were hoping for.
Okay. Again, projects coming in 2020. For now, we did get an update as well last night about the Hanson Boulevard construction. That's still on track to open in early November.
Yep.
Originally, I know that we were talking end of October. We're talking early November now.
Yeah, so it's really surprising that it's really only back about a week.
Yeah.
When you consider how much rain we've had this year, there was some other things that compounded that project that I think. So, and when you look at it now, it's moving fast.
Yeah.
You know, those cement parapets are up, and the dirt is moving, and they're rolling.
Yeah.
So it'll be nice. And the Chief Piper said that there will be a ribbon cutting on the deck. But here's what I'm confident of. It'll be like the day the bridge is ready to open, because that thing needs to get open again as fast as possible.
Yeah.
You don't want to hold it up even
just for a celebration.
Right, even half a day to cut a ribbon. Yeah, let's get this going.
All right. Well, we're talking, about 6 weeks probably?
Yeah, I suppose.
6 or 7 weeks here. And then also Foley Boulevard has been closed since after Labor Day between Northdale Boulevard and Main Street, correct?
Right, yeah, they're replacing the culverts in Sand Creek there, and there was just no way of shortcutting. I mean, they're redoing obviously the whole road there, but the actual closure is coming from the culverts.
Or I should say 121st, right? On the north side, I believe. I don't think it's Main Street.
It's between Northdale and Main Street on Foley, and the closure is south of 121st.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you're coming up from the south, you literally, the road just ends and you're turning around in the driveway because you're done.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the St. Creek must cross about 118th or 119th or something.
All right. So it's been a little bit more difficult to get up to the golf course, correct? But this is done at the end of this month, end of September, I believe.
Yeah, so that'll be really nice to have that open again. And the road's going to be beautiful when it's done. And it's going to have a new bike trail on one side, and the sidewalk. It's going to have some curb cuts or curbage. I don't remember what they're called now, but they'll come out to hopefully calm the traffic a little bit at where the pedestrian crossings are. And yeah, it'll be nice. It'll be nice when it's done.
All right. Now, always that short-term pain for the long-term gain, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, and it really is painful because, when the city owns the golf course.
Yeah.
So when the city is shutting down the road and the access, making it difficult to get to the golf course and the restaurant, it's tough.
All right. Well, we're looking forward for that open and also Hanson Boulevard as well. Council considered a resolution accepting a 2019 grant for a full-time DWI officer. Is this a new thing? Because we've had this grant in the past, correct?
So we've had the grant in the past, and then we didn't have it. The grant went to another community. Okay. But the chief mentioned that it's part of how well you use it, how well you're documenting it, how successful you are. Basically, they want to see results. Mm-hmm. And Coon Rapids was successful, and wherever the grant went to, they didn't have as much success, so we were able to get the grant back here again. Okay. So we have had it before, but it is essentially new again.
Okay. So accepting the grant that says required the authorized strength of the police department to be raised from 64 to 65 sworn officers, correct? So this covers essentially their salary and I believe their equipment and stuff.
It's like $157,000 grant or something. I mean, it covers their salary, the benefits, the vehicle, the ancillary. Yeah. Okay.
So this will take the grant through 2020. It looks like so committing for that 1 year for sure.
Yeah. And it's a good role to have because even though they can't participate in normal calls for service.
Right.
If we need them, if there's something that happens where we need the extra body, they can report and they can help out. Okay. So it's nice to have the extra staff out there working and have them available if necessary.
And again, it's a job that takes a lot, as the police chief talked about, it's a burnout job as well because processing one DWI, I mean, it can take you several hours to get through that process, all the paperwork and all of that. So you want to have somebody on it when you have a grant like that is doing the enforcement.
And it seems to me that they roll about 6 months on it. They don't even, the grant goes for a year, but they don't have the same officer for the whole year because it is kind of a burnout job.
Yeah, but certainly an important job and keeping our roads safe.
I don't know if I'm phrasing that right. You can burn out on that job.
Yeah, yes. Okay. We know what you're saying.
All right. Okay.
All right, moving along. Council considered a resolution adopting our preliminary 2020 tax levy.
Right. So we are required by law to have, and everything just disappeared. There it goes. We are required by law, by state statute, to have our preliminary tax levy into the county by September 30th of each year. And what we have to, because they have to send out then the truth in taxation cards to all of the residents and all the businesses. So based on that tax levy and based on what the county is going to be doing with their taxes, this is what your proposed taxes will be payable next year, payable 2020.
Yep.
Now, we can do less, we can reduce it, but we can't go above that amount. So we try and, we really think that that's what our budget for 2020 is going to be. That's where we're at right now. And, but we, if we're necessary, we can reduce it. We just can't increase it.
Okay. So I know the budget process usually starts earlier in the year for staff. Council starts in the summer, and then this is set. Like you said, there will be a final tax levy will be adopted in December. That's when a public hearing is held, correct?
Yes. So they start on the budget in April.
Yeah.
They have a preliminary conversation with staff, preliminary conversation workshop with the council, and then the preliminary budget is presented to council in August. And then we have a workshop where we get to really, the budget is presented to us, and we meet with staff and we talk about, is this really necessary? Is that really necessary? And it's really encouraging because everybody there understands that these are dollars that are coming out of people's pockets, so we need to be very responsible and respectful of those. And is everything in here needed? And is everything in here of good value for our residents? And so it's a very rewarding project. It's difficult. It's especially difficult on staff. Yeah. And but I think we end up with a good budget to work from.
Yeah. And if anybody out there is interested in looking, they can review the full budget online. Mm-hmm. There's also a budget and brief that staff has put together, and that is supposed to be posted as well.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's up there or not yet, but it will be, and it's kind of distills the budget down to a few pages with the priorities, and really the priorities. That's what the budget represents. It represents the priorities of the staff and the council, and what we hope is the residents.
All right. And also your fall newsletter, which folks should have gotten by now in the mail, has a little bit of info on the proposed budget for next year.
Correct.
All right. We did have an open mic response to Mr. Brian Vale, who was in here, and he was talking about what?
The fishing pier at Crooked Lake. Okay. And it became a very large conversation, and then it became where the council really had to make a decision on something. Because when the park was going to be first slated to be redone, the fishing pier that was there was going to be removed, and a new one was going to be installed a little bit further north up in the park. And what happened when they started on the project, they realized the fishing pier that was there really wasn't in too bad a shape, could just be refreshed. And because the DNR said there is so much demand for fishing that we could have a second pier there. So they took the original development location of the slightly moved pier, moved it closer to the center of the park, and then council decided to go ahead and refresh the original pier, put it back in the original location, because that's where there's already an ADA entrance to the fishing pier. And it's obviously critical that we have ADA adaptable ramp there. Mm-hmm. Now, Mr. Vale moved into the home at the meeting. They said the end of 18. They actually moved in the end of 17. And over the course of the summer of 18, experienced a lot of challenges coming from the fishing pier. The casting coming back, wrapping around the propeller of his boat and things like that. So it really put us into a quandary trying to figure out how to do this or what to do. And the way it ended up now is the fishing pier is going to go back into the location. There was some conversation about maybe making it a smaller tee instead of a bigger tee, but I'm not sure how it's going to end up. We're going to try and just watch it better, maybe put up some additional signs, and then we're hoping that maybe Mr. Vale can move his things over on his lot a little bit. I don't know. It was a really big conversation, and and it was confusing because if you look at, we have 3 different plans for that park, and one has the original pier here, and then the next one has the new pier here, and now the last one has both piers, and so it was hard for them to track as a neighborhood where the piers were going to end up, and then all of a sudden they found out, oh, we're going to be back in the same spot. We're probably going to have the same issues, and that's what we're trying to avoid.
Okay.
We're trying to be a good neighbor.
Something they'll be looking at and monitoring then.
Yes. The takeaway, so that's the challenge, but what I want folks to understand, and the takeaway is go visit that park. It turned out beautiful. It's just a gorgeous park right on Crooked Lake, and it really is a win.
Yeah.
So the rest of it.
All right. We have a couple events we want to talk about before we go here. We have 2 that are coming up this weekend.
This weekend we have the Pet Fair coming up at Riverview Park, always a big event. They moved the rabies clinic to go along with it, so you can bring your pets down there and get the rabies shots for like $11, which is really affordable. They're going to be set up to sell pet licenses down there. So that's during the day, Saturday the 21st, and then in the evening of the 21st, we're going to have the movie in the park at Sand Creek Park, Goosebumps 2. That's rescheduled from earlier this year. Yeah. And still farmers markets Wednesday afternoons over at the Ice Center.
Yeah, and those go till I believe October 9th is the date I saw. And then we should also mention we have Fire Open House coming up here in October.
October 12th, 10 to 12, always a great morning, Saturday morning. All 3 fire stations are open, all the equipment's out, the firefighters are there. There's demonstrations, usually cookies. Yeah, it's a fun morning.
Oh, good. And then a new event we learned about that's coming up here in October to have folks get that on their calendar is this Rocky's Pumpkin Patch. It's going to be at Sand Creek Park.
Yeah. Apparently there's going to be trick-or-treating for kids and an opportunity for them to go home with a pumpkin.
Yeah, and some bouncy houses and some other fun activities.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, that's Saturday, October, I can't read my own writing, 19th.
October 19th.
Yeah, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Sand Creek Park. It's a new event this year sponsored by the Community Strength Foundation and the city, so trying to get some attention to it, and hopefully families will get out there and bring the kids and have fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the bottom line. It's all about fun. All right, that's all I have, unless there's anything else you want to add.
I have nothing else.
Okay.
I don't think.
So we'll just end it right here.
Perfect.
Thanks for being here today. Thank you at home for watching. We'll see you back here again in October.